Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dmitry Kirchev. Me and Mr. Nicholas Stoykov would like to welcome you to the 9th episode of Trading Patterns. Hello, Mr. Stoykov.
Hello, Mr. Kirchev, and hello to our lovely audience. And glad you're sticking with us for episode 9.
Today's episode is going to be about healthy habits, correct?
Yes. I think that the most important thing is that we want to put first thing first. And since we've already given you a little bit of taste of what we do, I'd like to say the story of multiple role models. We want to speak about multiple kind of healthy habits, but one of the kind of like important thing is to add and subtract. So we're going to talk about adding healthy habits, but first, very important, is to remove unhealthy habits or to basically be able to diagnose them or at least be aware of them. What are you going to say, Mr. Kirchev? Do you agree with that? Kind of a healthy mix of adding and subtraction. Do you know how to subtract?
Subtracting has always been more difficult for me.
Oh, adding more girls and more cars is easy, but subtracting them
Seems so. Yeah.
Oh, so 5 girls and 5 cars is good, but going from 5 to 3 not so good.
No.
Right.
It's easy to go from 2 to 200, but from 200 back to 2.
That seems to be hard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Downsizing in general.
Downsizing in
Not so
general.
fun.
Subtracting. Right. I want to tell our audience like a story that I've shared with a few of the people here and with Mr. Kirchev. And the story starts. When does it start, Mr. Kirchev? Do you think? When the story starts?
Starts with Rasputin.
Right. It starts with some imaginary trader. Let's call him for all kind of like, for all kind of purposes. We don't want to speak about imaginary person without a name. Let's call him Nikolai. Do you think that's okay?
That's fair.
That's fair.
Your name, okay.
It could be me, but it might not be me. Let's say that this trader is a young 20-something-year-old trader living in New York. You like that, Mr. Kirchev?
Sure.
Right.
Good direction.
Good direction, right?
Wall Street?
Right. We're working on Wall Street. He's trading. And he's actually trading, I don't know. Yeah, he's trading. And Nikolai doesn't care for role models. He doesn't have the time for role models because why, Mr. Kirchev? Why do you think Nikolai doesn't care about role models?
Because he doesn't need one. Because
Right.
he is his own role
That's
model.
right. That's right. He's the new Renaissance man. He could do it all. And Nikolai doesn't realize it, but he has role models. And his role models are, not in any particular order, something like Rasputin, Warren Buffett, or version of Warren Buffett, and Mike Tyson. And what do you think happens?
All 3 of them?
All 3 of them, yeah.
Well, I guess it depends who is who in what part of the day.
That's right. It turns out that since Rasputin is actually the most important role model,
The most important.
yeah, I mean that's what Nikolai actually really wants
Damn,
to be
Nikolai.
Rasputin. That's right. Rasputin is active very early on during the day, and that happens to be during the trading day. And there's virtually no stock that moves that Nikolai doesn't want to jump on the train trying to trade it. So yeah,
Go to bed with figurative.
that's right. He basically tries to jump on any stock that moves. Anything that moves, Nikolai wants to jump on it. And he doesn't realize that that's Rasputin trading. And then, after the market closes, Nikolai likes to go boxing just to kind of unwind. And while he boxes, he tries to be Warren Buffett. And he tries to reasonable with people. And they beat him up. And late at night, sometimes when he goes out, he starts acting like Mike Tyson. I mean, this is the time to be Rasputin, but Nikolai is acting like Mike Tyson and just acting like a tough guy and just bumping into people, looking at people like, in a tough way. And you know what happens to Nikolai? They fucking beat him up outside. They freaking beat him up outside. So yes.
That's what I call a rough day.
Yeah, it's a rough day. Nikolai realizes that Mike Tyson's probably not who he is. So he drops Mike Tyson. But you know what he continues to do? He continues to trade like Rasputin. And at night, he gives people valuable investment advice about 10-year horizon. And who does those valuable advice goes to? It goes to women.
Yeah.
And
Very interested parties.
That's right. And women begin to wonder if Nikolai is gay. Because they have like, a black short dress or skirt on. And Nikolai keeps talking about the value of long-term investing. And that's not your audience.
Yields and everything.
That's right. That's right. Right. This is like an imaginary story, but to a degree, it does happen to be true. Do you think that's true for most people, Mr. Kirchev?
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to think it is. I mean, not that I enjoy acknowledging that such things exist, but I think most people are like that.
What are the examples when you've seen people being unaware that they're trading like Rasputin?
Are we talking about particular people?
Yes, in your personal experience.
My best friend?
Can you share that example?
Well, it's exactly like you mentioned it. Like for one day, he would make the volume of shares traded more than traders in the company that have been around the block for a very long time, much more than him. And he would be net zero.
That's right.
Net zero, because he liked that stock, then he liked the other stock, and then the other stock.
Right. We see it all the time, and we see it like especially people like that old and young, experienced and inexperienced, and people are intrinsically unaware that they actually are trading like Rasputin. It's very sad when you realize it, because the person could be old, could be married, and could have given up on the physical representation of Rasputin. For example, he could have 2 kids and a wife, and kind of like already, okay, I'm never going to be Rasputin. But he still trades like Rasputin.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most important thing is like, this is like, the important thing is that we're not realizing the importance of kind of like our decisions and what attracts us. And it's very unrealistic to expect that like a young person could actually really go over the hump and be able to control his excessive sexuality. But nevertheless, I've over the years I've come over like several things that could be important or could help you in terms of like, basically be more focused. The most important thing is basically be aware of your surrounding. It's one of those things that sometimes you walk by a trader and you see like, a sticky note written with an exclamation point. Do your plan and trade your plan, and maybe even several exclamation point. That's with a sticky note on the monitor. And you know what's the background on the monitor?
Fancy car.
That's right, a Lamborghini.
Really? That was very hard to guess.
Or a girl in yoga pants doing like a perfect downward facing dog.
Yeah.
Right. And the most important thing is that basically like, it's a very healthy habit to kind of like keep those distractions away, in that particular sense that like, you are what you look at. And if you look at the Lamborghini, or you look at a bunch of attractive girls, like, I don't know, like a Victoria's Secret swimsuit edition or something like that.
Russian models.
On
Instagram.
On your screen, background. I mean, you're going to look at your background 2, 3, maybe, I don't know, like, 200, 300, maybe 2,000 times a day. And with every single tick, those cars and the girls would be getting closer or away from you. Don't you think that would be very kind of nerve-wracking? It's like with every single check, this Lambo is coming closer or getting away. Right. So the most important thing is actually kind of like, the surrounding what you're looking at, the background. This is actually very important in terms of thing. what you call the hygiene of your training environment. So it's like, is it neat? Is it not neat? Do you have like, large monitors? Are those monitors kind of like ordered in some sort of a nice, kind of neat way? Are your filters, are your screens, are your scanners like, colored correctly? Or are they like, too bright? The next important thing that's kind of like is in my mind is that a trader, since there's downtime, he begins to mix work and pleasure. So he's active for the opening, maybe 1-2 hours, and then he kind of relaxes. And what does he go and do? Goes
YouTube,
on Instagram.
Instagram.
That's right.
Social media.
Social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
And what do you do when you go on, for example, Instagram? You follow some Russian girls.
Russian models, yeah.
Right. I mean, the important thing is that maybe sometimes you have the stamina or some sort of a kind of willpower to return exactly like trading. But the important thing is to say that the pattern of work hard and play hard really does not work, and trader really tries to work hard and play hard during the trading hours, and that's just not very good idea. Not a very good idea.
What is a good idea?
It's a good idea to first of all not go on social media, and if you do, to go in a very kind of limited time frame, maybe before the market opens or after the market closes, but not during the market hours, to make sure that you don't get the habit of just going on widely. The second most important thing that happens is to stop sending messages or excessive connections with other people, unless they are related to work. Sometimes you'll be in some sort of group, and that could be important, but in general, trader is really distracted by many different things, just to reduce your distractions. But the most important thing, that the one that I can find that really kind of overwhelms or underwhelms, is the trader specializes. You need to specialize, and you need to stop looking at all markets that are not directly related to your market. It's trader begins to think about trading crypto, trading gold, trading currencies, trading stocks, trading oil. And all those markets are very different, and you really need to make a commitment and choose one, maybe two markets at the most. And that's probably what a trader doesn't really want to do, because he wants to have a harem of markets that he wants to.
So not only a harem of stocks, but also markets.
That's right, a harem of markets. And the important thing is that this is very hard. And most traders are probably way too distracted. Let me give an example. For example, a market he doesn't follow, or a stock doesn't follow, suddenly becomes trending on Twitter or YouTube, or one of his friends starts doing it, and a trader easily goes on and just kind of hey, let's see, watch the action. And the important thing is that a trader needs to concentrate and just be able to willfully ignore all the distractions and enjoy them. I was very interested one day. I was walking by one of our better traders, probably one of our best traders we've had. And as he was walking on the street, he virtually didn't see me. In that particular sense, that he was so kind of engrossed. He was so much thinking, and that was before the market. He wasn't thinking about the position, that he didn't see me. It's very hard to understand that kind of the edge or ability to sustain profitable trading is predicated on the fact that you kind of stay concentrated on trading just a few things that you know well. And once people begin to trade well, they virtually go into an overdrive and start looking at things. They start thinking about buying cars, contacting girls, and all kinds of things. Have you ever heard the adage that says that you're either lucky in trading or you're lucky in love? No, you haven't?
I haven't, but I talked to some of the traders here,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of them told me that once they get out of a relationship, their trading goes up. Like it picks up and they kill it. They kill it in the market.
Well, we've noticed that with friends in New York, and we were laughing at it and we didn't understand why. But this is a very typical cycle. What happens? Let's say a trader concentrates for like a few months, and he actually starts building a winning streak, and then he comes up with the great idea that he plays hard, and then he works hard, and then he needs to play hard, and then he starts riding 5-6 girls at the same time, or nearly at the same time, and he just kind of loses a little bit of the edge that he had. Nothing really happens right away. Maybe for a month, maybe for 2, maybe even for 3. Nothing really happens, but something will happen. He doesn't really check all the facts that well. He doesn't really check his reports that well. He kind of forgets to see what the calendar is about. He makes quick decisions. He takes a little bit more risk than usual just because he hasn't lost recently. And then suddenly something happens usually, and he goes down. And then he swears that he'll never kind of relax the belt that much again. And he just concentrates on his training, and 2-3 months after the successful trading, again he's on the peak of Mount Stupid. And he thinks that this time he's learned all the lessons, and then then he's gonna basically be a profitable trader. The most important thing is that the reason why most people trade and why most people fail at trading is the excessive sexuality, the excessive kind of multitasking. They basically try to do too many things, try to acquire too many things, try to do too much. And this is really the problem. So this is the subtraction. So this is a very hard process. We're not physically wired to subtract easily. This is a very gradual and slow kind of prospect or project or undertaking. And it's a lot easier to add a habit.
Both good and bad.
Yes, both good and bad, than to subtract a habit. But yes, one of the most dangerous habits that's going to kind of come into play in your trading career, if you try to build a trading career, is your excessive sexuality, your willingness to trade or engage in multiple kind of tasks at the same time, or follow multiple tasks at the same time, or just multiple markets. Excessive leverage, over trading is usually the kind of like the end effect of many of those kind of like ideas that you could be too many things at one time. Have you ever tried that, Mr. Kirchhoff, to be too many things at one time? Did that work for you?
Yeah, I I've tried. Didn't work well.
I see.
Yeah. From my experience, once you try to do many good things at once,
Right.
the latter things that you tend to pick up, they kind of destroy what you are already good at. Stop your good habits.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
So it becomes like a cannibalism in
Yes.
some sort.
Yes. I mean, for me, that was kind of like, when we did the party episode, the party in New York City. Party in New York City is very addictive. And it's like one of those things that, like, you think as a trader, like, you need to go on top. But the reality is, it really is, Mr. Kirchhoff said, it destroys your healthy habits. I was recently acquainted with, like, some sort of a personal driver of a very wealthy person here in Bulgaria. And we would say that this person is probably worth $100 million, something like that. He told me the lifestyle of that person. Said that, hey, he had 2 Rolls Royces, 5 mistresses along with his wife, and he would be just chauffeuring mistress 1 from 2 to 3 and so forth. And then I asked him, immediately stopped him and said, like, what was this guy's health? He must have been sick. And he kind of stopped, looked at me and said, yeah, he had diabetes, very hard case of diabetes. And people don't realize it, that like, hey, the lifestyle of like 2 Rolls Royces and 5 mistresses and a wife, wow, enviable in the life of most young people, it really does come with diabetes.
Yeah, that kind of stuff reflects on you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. You wouldn't be able to trade if you choose that lifestyle. I mean, you would probably, you'll definitely lose money. You will not be able to trade well. Maybe in some other professions, maybe in some other areas, people can maintain their lifestyle for a long time. But in trading, if you choose that lifestyle or try to make it in any significant time frame, you will not be able to maintain that lifestyle and be a successful trader.
Yeah, I guess once you start doing, let's say, 2 things simultaneously, difficult, possibly doable, but still quite difficult. The problem is that, like you said, Mr. Stoykov, excessive sexuality, we want more. We try to stack things up, to do things simultaneously, more and more and more. So hypothetically, if that guy had 1 mistress,
maybe then it would have worked.
Yeah, maybe his diabetes wouldn't be so rough.
We don't
hypothetically,
know.
Yeah, of course we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But 5 is excessive, don't you think?
5 is excessive, yeah. I recently talked to a friend of mine who he was doing well in his work, and he met a girl. He was single at the time, so he met this girl. They started going out. He would go to bed religiously at 10 p.m. But once he met that girl, she started telling him, hey, why don't you stay up later? Like, why don't we watch a movie or 2 movies?
All right.
Why don't we eat snacks late at night? Something he would avoid doing. So he started going to bed at like 3, 4, 5 a.m.
Nice.
Couldn't get up for work. He would be late for work. That reflected his health. Like, he would get sick more often.
Yeah.
So I think the key point here is, as long as it's not excessive, you could do 1 or 2 things in addition simultaneously.
Right.
As long as you don't turn your back to your
we're gonna talk about like adding healthy habits, but we really really want to say that the importance is subtracting unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
And very often what people try to do is just try to add healthy habits, but they never got rid of the unhealthy habits. And we want to make sure that we speak about subtracting unhealthy habits.
And not subtracting healthy ones.
Yes, unhealthy habits, I'm sorry. And then adding the healthy habits, because it's not going to be a very big progress if people just try to add healthy habits to already unhealthy ones.
Yeah.
So you could make progress by adding healthy habits, but just as much by subtracting unhealthy one. And one of the most dangerous unhealthy habits is exactly this: excessive risk taking, excessive sexuality, excessive attention to multiple areas. I think that Warren Buffett said it best. And this is really an exercise for our readers and for our listeners and viewers. Write 25 things that are important to you, and then subtract 20. I mean, cross out 20. And the interesting part is if you actually try to do this exercise with anybody, and once you point out to a person that he's trying to do more than 5 things, he know what he will usually say, Mr. Kirchhoff? I'm special. I could do more than 5. Trust it when I say it. It's this is a very common one. So the most important thing is it doesn't matter if you're smart, if you're not smart, if you're special in some way. Trust it. Take it from Warren Buffett. Nobody's that special. You cannot be good in more than 5 things. And most people try to be good at 10 or 20 different things, and that just, you end up being good at nothing. So it's like one of those things, and like, the choices we make, if you try to be a Rasputin, I could promise you're not going to be a trader for long. It's just one of the things. You could be broker, you could be in sales, but you're not going to be trading if your role model, explicit or implicit, is Rasputin. And you need to control that kind of excessive sexuality by kind of like your environment when you're trading, and kind of like daily habits. But the first one, it's need to be recognized that you cannot change or maintain daily habits that much as long as, like, every single time you get on top, you try to be Rasputin. And that's a very big problem in young people.
How did Nikolai, the imaginary...
Yeah, imaginary trader.
Yeah, the imaginary trader. How did Nikolai, the imaginary trader, stop being Rasputin with his trading style?
Once he realized that he actually likes trading and investing more than he likes sex. The reality of it is, like, this is really like, it's really kind of like not necessarily more, but of equal importance. So it's like, sex is kind of like, enjoyable and like, very pleasant. But so is trading. And to just realize that, hey, like, in order to do successful trading, you need to do all things right. You need to go to bed early, or like not too late. You need to be kind of like, doing Excel spreadsheets and some sort of research and stuff like that. And once you stop doing that, you will stop trading successfully. And just reminding myself daily that, hey, like, sex is important, or like women could be fun, but so is trading. And the one most important thing is, like, maybe for our listeners, is to ask yourself, like, do you really enjoy trading that much? And if you do really enjoy it, do you enjoy it just as much as sex? And if you enjoy sex more than trading, well, you clearly will trade like Rasputin.
I have a question.
Yes.
Trading.
Yes.
As a profession.
Yes.
The success in trading is measured with money, right? How successful you are.
It's measured with a lot of things. At the end is always money,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's also measured by quality of your results. So in that particular sense, somebody could get lucky over a course of like 5 to 10 years. So maybe the characteristics is some sort of a Sharpe ratio or Sortino ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah, but invariably it's measured by money. It's very measured by money.
My question is the following. When you say that the imaginary trader Nikolai realized that he enjoyed trading more than having sex, did he enjoy making a bunch of money, or did he enjoy the journey? Basically what you said, making the Excel spreadsheets, the research, all that. Is the final destination more important than the journey itself?
It's a slow transition, but you need to make the steps toward trading pleasant and enjoyable. So it's not that trading is more exciting or more pleasurable than sex. It's different, of equal standing, I would say. And the most important thing is that people are kind of unaware, but you need to learn to enjoy making those Excel spreadsheets. If you don't enjoy making the Excel spreadsheets, if you don't enjoy like writing a diary, things are not going to go well. I mean, it's like, think about it in terms of like, courting women. It's like, if you buy just any flowers, would that kind of get you, give you too much edge? So it needs to be a nice restaurant. Maybe not the best, but a nice restaurant. The flowers need to be thought of, kind of like, be neat at the least. And it can't be like, some sort of
an effort is required.
Yeah, an effort. And your ability to sustain that effort is basically dependent on the fact if you enjoy it. You don't need to enjoy it all the time. You don't need to enjoy it kind of like, immediately. But at some point, you need to enjoy making those steps towards successful trader, because otherwise you're not gonna keep repeating them. Yeah, I think that comes, I think, with experience. Like I realized that it was a very strange realization. I realized that, hey, if I do make a very decent Excel spreadsheet about the trade, and the Excel spreadsheet says it's a good trade, you know what happens? I never lost. So if I make the effort to make an Excel spreadsheet, and decent Excel spreadsheet, not like, just like 5 rows, something like that, and kind of double check the data. And sometimes those spreadsheets could be like, quite elaborate. But the reality is, like, if I made an Excel spreadsheet and it did produce some sort of like a profitable results in the end, and if I do that trade, it's 100% like, I'd never lost. and maybe that just speaks like how bad like Excel spreadsheets I've made. But yeah, or maybe just like, when I decide to make good Excel spreadsheets, those were trades that really inspired me. But yeah, the track record is there. If I make a very decent Excel spreadsheet, I don't think I've ever lost.
So the two are connected.
Yeah, it seems to me they're connected. My experience says that they're connected, and I think that they are connected. I don't really have like a 20 or 40 year history of making decent Excel spreadsheets. So that's more than that. But I do have several years worth of making good Excel spreadsheets, and I can tell you, when I make a good Excel spreadsheets, I win on the trade. Practically no exception.
All right. So to wrap it up, a trader needs to watch out for excessive sexuality.
Right.
That is like the trader's worst enemy.
That's right. People have difficulty subtracting. They try to be 25 things. My advice to you is that you really if you take my word for it, you're not that special. You cannot be 6 great things. Try doing 5. And after 10 years, if you could do 5, you could try the 6th one. I mean, people, like 2 years into trading, and the people, they tell me, Nikolai, I'm special. I could do 7 things well. No, you can't. You could do 7 things well for a little bit, but then something's going to happen and everything's going to fall apart. So yes, you could do 5 things well for a very, very long time. And once you do it for 10 years, you're allowed to go for 6th one. But like, going for 7 or 8 at the beginning of your career, things go well for like a year, and you think that that's going to turn out to be great. Well, you're naive or optimistic. And of course, I don't know if you're not special or not, but this is an error that most people do, and that's like a repeated pattern. In order to succeed at trading, you have to see things that other people don't see, and that's actually tremendously hard. Sometimes it happens, but usually you don't have that much foresight. You don't see that different than most people. And then the other thing is, be willing to do things that other people are not willing to do. And I can tell you, we're going to talk about adding or changing a little bit, adapting patterns. But one of the patterns that, like, habits that people are not willing to let go is their excessive sexuality. They think they're Rasputin, and they want to be Rasputin. And the funny thing is that even if they don't realize it, and that would be funny if it wasn't so sad, actually. Right, that they don't realize that they want to be Rasputin.
Right. So my best friend who used to work here, he clearly had Rasputin as his role model in trading. So what advice would you give to him? Because a person that over trades during the day clearly goes to bed with any stock.
Yes.
So, and clearly there is a correlation with having Rasputin as a role model and seeing exactly the same things other in the markets are seeing. So what would be that thing that is different, that sets him apart from other traders?
Right. I know the person that you're talking about. It's difficult to give people advice in specific. I could tell you what I tell to most people, and I don't know if this is applicable, if he would agree to do it or not. But I'm a fan of Eastern kind of philosophies. And in Eastern philosophy, the idea is like chopping wood and shining objects. And the object that I tell people to shine is their bathroom. So go work out hard and clean your bathroom, clean your like environment extremely well. And as we said in the previous example, not just kind of like clean it up kind of well.
Rub it.
Yeah, a blowjob effort. make things shine. And this is, again, this is not me saying it. This is kind of like what I've picked up from Eastern religion. Some sort of a physical effort, and some sort of idea to clean the environment that you're in, everything to be clean. And this actually works wonders. And the important thing is that, like, if you clean your bathroom today, nothing's going to happen tomorrow. But if you put the effort and make things tidier and shinier for a month, you will see the difference in your kind of emotional stamina and your kind of ability to withstand stress and ability to follow your plan. I mean, the person that you're talking about, I think that he had difficulty formulating a plan and sticking with the plan. The plan was basically to subject to change. And that's a very kind of common thing. In that particular sense, there's no right way. Do you need to always stick to a plan, or do you need to adapt it? Obviously, the question varies. Like, in certain circumstances, you need to stick to a plan. In certain circumstances, you need to kind of like adapt it. But in many different ways, kind of sticking to a plan is probably more difficult for most people. So most people are very willing to change their plan. What Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the jaw. So once the market moves against you, many people kind of just change their plan or just abandon it. So, but that's a function of kind of like, of other habits. But the underlying habit usually is like people try to do too many things. We're going to talk about fixing kind of like healthy habits, like this kind of like shining objects and physical effort. But first we want to say that this is not going to work unless you take a hold of kind of be able to significantly reduce your excessive sexuality. If after 2-3 months of successfully doing one discipline, you start like speaking to 5-6 girls, that's that's going to be counterproductive.
Yeah. Okay, I agree.
You do? Have you done this, Mr. Kirsten?
Yep, guilty.
All right.
All right, Mr. Stoykov. Thank you very much for your insight. Ladies and gentlemen, focus on subtracting. Hopefully, we're going to be talking about adding.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Please, you can like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe.
It's going to help our channel grow bigger, and we'll be able to reach out to more people.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kirchhoff, and thank you to our lovely audience. And see you for episode 10.